Shanon Stanfield, Austin real estate and commercial litigation attorney on a changing Texas legal landscape. Austin trial attorney Shanon Stanfield explains how evolving evidentiary standards, construction defect claims, collection risks, and emerging technology are shaping real estate and commercial litigation in Texas. Texas real estate and commercial litigation increasingly turns on evidence, timing, and whether a favorable judgment can actually be collected. Shanon Stanfield, an Austin trial attorney with more than 16 years of experience, has represented individuals and businesses in disputes involving real estate, construction defects, contracts, partnerships, and consumer claims across Texas. Through SKS Law, Stanfield has handled matters in state district courts, county courts, justice of the peace courts, and federal trial courts. After resolving more than 500 cases at various stages of litigation, he has seen legal standards and practical realities shift in ways that require careful preparation from both attorneys and clients. One of the clearest examples involves a buyer who discovers a serious property defect after closing. What may appear to be an obvious failure to disclose can become a difficult legal claim because the buyer must develop evidence showing what the seller actually knew and when the seller knew it. For Stanfield, that gap between suspicion and admissible proof is where litigation strategy begins. Why is fraud harder to prove in Texas real estate litigation? According to Stanfield, the evidentiary burden for showing that a seller had actual knowledge of an undisclosed property defect has become increasingly demanding. Fraud and deceptive trade practices claims that may appear compelling at intake often need stronger documentation to withstand early legal challenges. The evidentiary standards to prove a seller had actual knowledge of a property defect that was not disclosed to the buyer have created an ever steeper uphill climb when prosecuting fraud and deceptive trade practices claims, Stanfield explained. That reality has made case evaluation more selective, but it does not mean useful evidence is always available before a lawsuit is filed. Evidence of prior repairs, insurance claims, contractor communications, or earlier complaints may emerge only through formal discovery. Third-party subpoenas directed to contractors, insurers, prior owners, or other witnesses can help establish a timeline and clarify what a seller knew before closing. Good evidence of fraud may only be uncovered by filing suit and engaging in the formal discovery process, he said, especially by serving non-parties with subpoenas for records that could establish what a seller knew. The practical lesson is straightforward. A Texas real estate dispute should be evaluated not only on the buyer's experience, but also on the evidence that may be preserved, requested, or obtained from third parties. Why collectability matters in Texas commercial litigation. A strong claim does not automatically produce a meaningful financial recovery. In breach of contract, negligence, and fraud disputes, a defendant may lack insurance coverage or identifiable assets. That can make collectability one of the most important questions in a case. I have talked to and represented many people with open and shut breach of contract, negligence, and even fraud claims against defendants where my biggest concern from the beginning was whether we could collect on a judgment, Stanfield recalled. Stanfield addresses this risk early. Before a client commits significant time and money to litigation, he explains how the defendant's insurance, assets, business structure, and financial condition may affect the practical value of a judgment. This candid assessment helps clients compare the likely cost of litigation with the potential recovery and make informed decisions before expenses escalate. For business owners, investors, and property owners, understanding the defendant can be as important as understanding the legal theory. A technically successful case may still fall short of the client's goals if a judgment cannot be enforced. How construction defect claims are changing for Texas property owners. Construction defect litigation often involves multiple parties and overlapping duties. General contractors, subcontractors, suppliers, architects, engineers, and property owners may each hold different pieces of the factual record. As the path for pursuing certain direct negligence claims has narrowed, attorneys must evaluate contractual duties and each party's role with greater precision. A construction defect strategy may involve claims against a general contractor, analysis of contractual indemnity provisions, and a detailed record of who performed each portion of the work. Depositions, document requests, project records, photographs, inspection reports, and third-party subpoenas can help establish the chronology of the project and the scope of each participant's responsibility. For Stanfield, early documentation is critical. Preserving contracts, change orders, invoices, text messages, emails, repair estimates, and photographs can give counsel a clearer view of the dispute and reduce uncertainty as the case develops. What leads to better outcomes in real estate and business disputes? Across more than 500 resolved matters, Stanfield has observed several qualities that help clients navigate litigation more effectively. Full candor. Clients disclose the complete facts early, including information that may weaken their position. Realistic expectations. They evaluate litigation costs against the likely financial and business outcome rather than expecting a guaranteed result. Preparation. They follow counsel's guidance during discovery and prepare carefully for depositions and hearings. Patience. They allow the factual record and negotiation strategy to develop instead of accepting an early settlement that may not reflect the claim's value. These habits are especially important in partnership disputes and commercial contract cases, where damaged business relationships can make decisions more emotional. Stanfield's approach balances courtroom advocacy with practical problem-solving. A fair resolution may come through a negotiated settlement, dispositive motion, trial, or another strategy suited to the facts. How AI is affecting legal research and litigation strategy. AI-powered legal research tools can help attorneys identify potentially relevant decisions, organize information, and accelerate early research. Stanfield sees value in those capabilities when they are used with careful professional oversight. The tools do not replace the judgment required to assess which arguments may persuade a particular court, how a local jury may respond to the facts, or when settlement serves a client better than continued litigation. Those decisions depend on legal analysis, knowledge of the record, and courtroom experience. The most effective attorneys will use AI as an assistive research tool, not as an independent decision-maker. Verification, strategy, advocacy, and responsibility for the final work remain human obligations. What trends could shape Austin and Texas litigation? Continued development in Austin and across Texas is creating more transactions, construction projects, leases, and business relationships. Each can generate disputes when expectations, documentation, or contractual responsibilities are unclear. Stanfield is watching several areas that may continue to produce real estate and commercial litigation. Increased disputes involving commercial lease terms and landlord-tenant obligations as market conditions change. Construction defect claims connected to accelerated development schedules and compressed inspection or quality control processes. Partnership and limited liability company disputes involving businesses that lack clear governance, buyout, or exit provisions. Consumer claims arising from real estate transactions in which disclosure obligations are disputed. Texas property and business law will continue to evolve as courts interpret statutes, contracts, and evidentiary requirements. Stanfield believes effective representation depends on staying current, investigating thoroughly, and communicating honestly about what litigation can and cannot accomplish. Frequently asked questions about Texas real estate and commercial litigation. What does a Texas real estate litigation attorney do? A Texas real estate litigation attorney represents clients in disputes involving property transactions, seller disclosures, construction defects, leases, ownership interests, contracts, and related claims. The attorney evaluates the facts, preserves evidence, conducts discovery, negotiates resolutions, and represents the client in court when necessary. What evidence can matter in a seller non-disclosure dispute? Relevant evidence may include seller disclosures, inspection reports, repair records, insurance documents, contractor communications, photographs, emails, text messages, and testimony from prior owners or other third parties. The evidence needed depends on the facts and applicable Texas law. Why should collectability be evaluated before filing a commercial lawsuit? Collectability affects whether a favorable judgment is likely to produce an actual recovery. Reviewing potential insurance coverage, assets, and the defendant's business structure can help a client weigh litigation costs against realistic outcomes. When should a property owner speak with a litigation attorney? A property owner should consider speaking with a qualified attorney promptly after discovering a serious defect, receiving notice of a claim, or encountering a contract or ownership dispute. Early guidance can help preserve records and avoid missed deadlines, although the appropriate next step depends on the individual circumstances. Experience, preparation, and practical advice for Shanon Stanfield. Effective real estate and commercial litigation begins with a realistic assessment of the evidence, the parties, and the client's goals. Litigation cannot guarantee a result. Thorough preparation, strategic discovery, and experience in Texas courts can, however, give clients a clearer path through a complicated dispute. This article is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Reading it does not create an attorney-client relationship. Individuals facing legal disputes should consult a licensed attorney regarding their specific circumstances.